You're listening to a Countout Podcast.
ICHIBAN Sweetcast. ICHIBAN. ICHIBAN Sweetcast. That's right. Welcome to episode 0.1, I guess, 0.2 of the ICHIBAN Sweetcast. Very organised, but here we are. We're not here to fuck about. Before we jump to our second ever topic, I want to ask you real quick. I sent you a message. You rudely didn't reply, but I said I'll be 2 more minutes. I said I'll be 2 more minutes. I said I'm just pouring a cup of Joe, which is a thing they say in America. And I said, why do they say that? And who is Joe? And Curtis blanked me and didn't reply. So I started the episode and I put it out in front of all the listeners to ask why he would ignore his friend and why the Americans keep secrets about coffee.
I was looking at minis on Instagram.
On Instagram, something I also do all the time. So maybe I don't need to be as harsh. But I imagine there would have been some kind of notification. It's like you've received a message to your friend that then you swiped away in order to continue what you were doing is, I think, what happened. So tell me the history now of Cup of Joe and where its origins lie. I expect you to know.
Well, my friend, the Joe is my friend Joe. He works with me.
Okay.
His name's Joseph Corey.
Personal friend.
Yeah, close.
It's his cup that I'm drinking.
Yes.
Did he invent it?
Actually, it's funny because Joe does not like hot drinks.
Oh.
So we said that ironically. We said it's a cup of Joe.
Because
ironically,
every time you're pouring a coffee, you've got to hear about it. Oh, why are you drinking something hot? Coffee again.
Why don't you drink
Well, I'm going to have your fucking favorite
drink.
drink, a cup of Joe. I see where it goes. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up. Next fucking topic is Zack Sabre Jr., the new ace of New Japan. Go, Curtis.
Well, the thing that we need to talk about before we talk about that is how this is the ICHIBAN Sweetcast. You found the sweet spot, everybody. This is your good friend Curtis Spears. That is your bad friend Rafe Houston. And together we are the Sweetcast.
Yes, exactly. Sweetcast, ICHIBAN, the International Wrestling Grand Prix are back. Change of name, still essentially the same podcast. And we're going to try and be a bit more frequent for you. So we're jumping in and we're being more topic based. That's our goal. We're going to have a thing, and then we're going to talk about it. And today's episode is Zack Sabre Jr. the new ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, or can he be? And we're just going to mill that over. It also gives us an excuse to talk about his match with Danielson at New Beginning in Osaka, which was amazing. But the question is, like, I feel like a lot of people feel this, and I know you do. I feel like Zach is geared up now to really step up and fill some spaces. You know what I'm saying? He's looking in the best condition of his entire life. Very popular wrestler, extremely talented, cool faction, native Japanese speaker as well as English, so he's bilingual. He lives in Japan. He has proved his loyalty to New Japan over and over. He doesn't really want to go anywhere else. He's made that very clear. He's not motivated by money. Well, more than anybody is that they need to like live, you know. He's motivated by wrestling. And so how are you feeling here? I think it's pretty safe to say that we can expect big things coming down the road for Zach. And I think the sky's the limit for what that could be.
We've been calling for it for years, right?
For years, right? But there was no space for him at the top. Like there just wasn't.
New Japan always has like 4 or 5 people that are at the top, 4 or 5 people that are those dudes.
Yeah,
you know, and we just had 2 of those dudes, probably the 2 biggest of those dudes, leave the company, and a third one cycle himself out to become the president of the company. So there's more space at the top now than there ever has been.
And I mean,
before.
even kind of more than that when you think about it, because it wasn't that long ago that the 4 dudes on the poster also included Kota Ibushi and also included Jay White. So that was, so 4. And then if you keep going back a little bit further, it's not that far until you get to the likes of Kenny Omega and stuff like that, So like New Japan have really lost a lot of their top tier main event talent in very recent years. So
since like
it opens
2019,
up
I wonder what happened in 2019 that everything started fucking going downhill for New Japan, huh? Anyway, there's that hater. There's that hater coming out again.
Stop it.
Anyway, so there's never been a better time than right now for people to step up, not just a dude to step up. This isn't like when AJ and Shinsuke left and you automatically had Kenny and Naito there to fill those shoes.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think you really had Kenny yet, right? Like, but I know what you're saying, and it goes to New Japan always being ready to next man up somebody. But at the time, I think because Kenny was like a junior, right? Like when AJ left.
Kenny's the one that officially kicked AJ out of Bullet Club and that day declared he was going to become a heavyweight.
But I don't think before that day anybody would have been like, he's the next fucking leader and he's going to be world champ. Like I don't think they would have said that about him in that moment. But New Japan goes, you know what? It's going to be him. And then he just was.
Yeah. So when you have those next man up opportunities, you really have to grab them with both hands and fucking hold on for dear life. And now those next man opportunities are many.
Yeah.
Many and sundry next man up opportunities, because the only dudes, like, it's not that we have one person to fill the spot. We only have one dude at the top right now. So there's room for Sonata to cement himself. There's room for Dave Finlay to cement himself. There's room for Yota Tsuji or Ren Narita or Shota Umino. Any one of those guys could jump into to be the next homegrown Japanese star, and then you have room for that, not just foreign ace, but ace.
Yeah.
When people looked at Okada, when people looked at Will Ospreay, when people looked at AJ Styles, when people looked at Kenny Omega, they said that is a fucking ace.
Yeah, he's the guy.
If you want to prove how good you are, you go to Japan and you fight that guy.
Yeah.
And Zack Sabre Jr. is about to become that guy.
That's what I'm saying, because that Danielson match was so impressive. Wrestlers from around the world would kill to be in a match like that. And when you talk about the others that hover at the top, I don't think, like, besides Naito has definitely had some very, very impressive matches, but because of his style and because of who he is, he's not that sort of best bout machine type wrestler. He can definitely have those matches, but he is a bit sloppy. He's a bit tranquilo. Like, that's his whole vibe. Whereas Zack Sabre Jr., everybody could argue is top tier, one of the best wrestlers in the world. After that match, Danielson said that is the best technical wrestler in the world. So in my eyes, that doesn't, people would go like, oh, he replaces Will as like the foreign ace or whatever. Like, but really he could just be the ace of the company, like the next Okada, like the next everything, like the guy that you can guarantee to be putting on those absolute classics that New Japan are known for.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that has large crossover appeal because he's huge in the West. Yeah. He's got a huge foundation of fans in Japan because he is, speaking Japanese. He is like living there, putting in the work. He's been there basically, full time since like 2015 or something. Uh-huh. Like, he's put in the work. It's time. It's time to, like, I'm not saying, have him win the New Japan Cup for a third time and dethrone Naito at Dominion. It doesn't have to be that. It could be. It absolutely could be great. Yeah. But I think they've got the plan in place we'll see Zack Sabre Jr. crowned at some point this year.
Yeah.
And whether it's 2024 or whether it's 4 days into 2025, we're going to see Zack Sabre Jr. crowned.
Well, the wrinkle at the moment that, I mean, not a lot of people are talking about, but it's still coming up, is Sonata's rematch, right? And there's like a very real danger that Sonata could just win it back. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows Naito's health stuff.
It's not a danger. It could definitely fucking happen.
Absolutely. It's completely like Naito has some very possible challenges between now and whatever's going to happen, because we know he's fighting Jon Moxley and we know he's fighting Sonata. And to be fair, he could lose to either guy. And we were going to do it as a separate topic, but fuck it, let's talk it now. Like, either of those guys could potentially beat Naito, and then if you had, like, say, a Zack win New Japan Cup, he could go on and beat either of those guys as, like, they're the transitional champion. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's actually the beginning of, like, an ongoing storyline. You know, it becomes like you cycle Naito out and it's like just 5 guys versus TMDK or, you know, Blackpool Combat Club, you know, Shooter and Thing versus Team DK or whatever. But what do you think the chances are? And I don't think there's zero of Jon Moxley winning that title as a transitional champion.
Well, it's a huge show in America.
Huge show in America. He has long ties now, long ties with Japan and doing the right thing by Japan. It's my understanding he's still – it's so funny. I keep using this word. Last episode, we will literally talk about not wanting to know about contracts, but it is my understanding that he has a separate contract, right? Like, he's a New Japan contracted wrestler and an AEW contracted wrestler. Not a lot of guys have that, like, that show up, but he is that. He's a bridge, and he's said it in interviews that a lot of stuff that has happened between the companies has, you know, because he's there, you know what I mean? It was able to happen. And his record in New Japan is very, very impressive. You know what I mean? He hasn't lost very often. They keep him very, very strong.
Very strong.
They've just lost heaps of huge stars. He's arguably the most famous guy in both companies. There's every fucking chance in the world that Jon Moxley walks out of that building with that title and blows fucking minds. It would explode social media. And the thing to remember for us New Japan fans is it's not the days of the V4. It's not the prestigious belt that only has a few names on it, you know, that has run for years and years and years. They reset the lineage. You know what I mean? First champion, Kota Ibushi. Like, second champion, Will Ospreay. Like, it's that fresh. So there is absolutely no reason they wouldn't want to put the stamp of a name like Jon Moxley on that belt's lineage, like, as they're building it going forward. So I think there's every fucking chance in the world. And Naito doesn't need to hold it for a long run because that's not his character. That's not who he is. I mean, his health stuff aside and things like that, like, he is an underdog character. Like, he's not Okada.
I'm going to throw this out for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this out for you. Naito, he said that, like, he wants to be the one who's out there holding the belt, sending the crowds home happy with the big call at the end of the show, making the towns, hearing the crowds cheer for him as champion.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be the most Naito thing ever to finally win the belt, to finally, you know, say, I'm going to start making the towns, and then lose the belt right away?
That's
and
what I feel. Every chance
2
in the
years
world.
from now,
Do it again.
We'll see him do it again.
Yeah.
No. It would be huge.
Yeah.
It would be huge for Jon Moxley to win. I don't think it would be as huge for Sonata to win.
It absolutely wouldn't. They would only be doing that, like, because they want to keep it on a guy they're building, and they want to, like, have him making the towns and making the reps and doing all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody besides Josh from We Work Stiff is, like, clamoring for another Sonata reign, but maybe I'm wrong, you know.
Yeah, you might be wrong, because maybe you should say, I don't know if anybody in the Western world is clamoring for another Sonata reign.
And they did tell a story with Sonata by the end. We did see that emotion from him at Wrestle Kingdom and things like that. And so maybe maybe he manages to win it back. Maybe we see more emotion, and then we start to actually see like a change in his character, and he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, and I'm going to fucking protect this title, and all those kind of things. Quick question: does the Sonata defense happen before the Moxley defense?
Yes,
it does.
It does.
So
because it happens at the end of this tour, at the New Beginning in Sapporo, I believe.
So what under over then of Sonata winning, because obviously Moxley has his match, and wouldn't the bigger match be for the title Naito versus Moxley than like just Naito versus Moxley or Sonata versus Moxley, for example?
I don't know. I think the over-under is more. I think if it was going to change hands at all, it would be to Moxley. I don't think there is a greater than 0 chance it changes hands with Sonata. I think there's a greater chance than that it changes hands with Moxley. I don't particularly think either is going to happen.
No, I kind of think he's going to keep it. Like I think like when Zach rolled out of the ring after beating Danielson, didn't he say something along the lines of like, "I'm coming for you, Naito, you dickhead," something like that? So I feel like maybe the bigger rivalry could be Naito versus Zach down the road.
Yeah, and those two definitely have great matches when they're in together. So yeah, I think it could be that that's the program coming up, or it could be that that's just the first shot across the bow. Like this could be the story that gets us through the summer and into the fall of 2024.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Either way, there's lots of gold to mine there, so to speak, and I think it's all positive, no matter which way it goes. Like you're not a huge AEW guy, obviously, but how do you feel about Moxley in New Japan / potentially having a champion that is not full time? Because New Japan love to give away their belts. They love it. They don't want them around. Well, like they're like, let's fuck them off as quick as we can.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a fan.
No, he doesn't love it. His little face doesn't love it. No, sir. No.
I don't like it.
You're like Joe with coffee to AW guys holding belts.
I don't like it.
No,
I
he doesn't like it.
Like it.
Same way.
You want to come in and be here for the next 4, 6, 8 months? Yeah. You want to live in Japan for most of 2024? Yeah, you can have a fucking belt. Otherwise, no. I think you and I have discussed this before back on the old Okada Shorts podcast.
Don't know it.
2024 needs to be the year that you close ranks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've definitely said that. So yeah, exactly.
It needs to be the year that we focus on Japan, focus on getting everything right on the home front. And then you can start reaching out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got they said it best that the world title, the belt that Naito currently holds is the belt where people come to you to challenge for it.
Yeah.
The GHC, the Global Crown, it's not the Global Honored Crown, sorry. The Global Heavyweight Championships. There's 2 GHC titles. It's fucking wild.
Dumb. Yeah.
The IWGP Global Championship is the belt that travels to be seen.
Sure. Which is the belt that David Finlay holds now.
The belt that David Finlay
is he defending that belt against Nemeth?
Yes.
Okay. So again, another foreigner. We don't know what Nemeth's plans are with New Japan. Thoughts on Finlay dropping that to Nemeth? Like, surely not with the build that Finlay's on. Surely not.
It's not the right time for that.
No, they need to establish that belt, and they're establishing Finlay as well.
Yeah,
they need to start racking up wins for him, which they have.
Yeah, he just beat Will Ospreay to send Will Ospreay out of the company,
and beat Ospreay and Moxley at the same time for it. So, I
hope, like you said, I hope he fucking milks that. I hope he just says I'm the guy that beat Moxley and Ospreay in the same night in the same match. Do the Jericho I beat The Rock in Austin thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Dude,
he needs to lean into that. That's awesome.
The idea of Moxley winning it's a little bit intriguing. I don't think it's the right time to do it. With business. God, here we go. We're going to talk business and contracts and whatever fucking again. I fucking hate when we have to do this. But with business being what it is, with, the yen is down and stock for Bushiroad is down. And it's the sad times come again for fucking New Japan. Well, then you know what? Fix what you've got at home.
Yeah.
Don't worry about paying Moxley's fucking appearance fee so many times, just put together the best of what you have and fans will fucking love it. And right now, the best of what you have is Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. Just lean into that because, I mean, the only reason why I brought up the Moxley thing and why it was worth a wrinkle worth talking about is because if Moxley takes it and then Zack was to say beat him, would that hotshot Zack faster? You know what I mean? If they're like, it's fucking Bushiroad's on our ass, everything's fucked, like we need to crank up excitement, is that like the fastest way to do it? But
it would be in the West.
In the West, exactly. And it's
is it
not
the fastest way to do it in Japan? I don't know.
And I don't think it's the way New Japan does business, which is why we like them so much. They don't really take those easy ways. They're like, no, we'll do it the way we do it and we'll take our time. And that's what leads to those amazing moments. So I really don't see them doing it. But you can never write off Moxley when it comes to New Japan, I think. So just worth putting an asterisk above him.
And the fact that, I mean, they sold out a big building in Chicago on the back of that Naito versus Moxley match.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe they do see that, Moxley versus New Japan talent is something that people in America want to see.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Yeah. I mean, you can't say there's zero.
Yeah.
Can't say there's 0% chance.
Like what percent would you give it? 50-50? Like, is it that? Or is it more like a 40-60?
I'm going to say probably 70-30.
70-30. 70 being Naito, 30 being Mox.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's definitely, more than a lot of people, he would have a much bigger chance than most.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I would say he would have 100% chance more than any other non-full-time New Japan guy at holding that belt.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, like you put, like if they had him, Naito versus Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, like I'm going to go in there going, yeah, that's just going to be a match. There's no way they're putting that belt on Ziggler.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, like kind of thought that about AJ Styles too. I was like, there's no way they're putting that belt on fucking AJ. Oh, nope, they just did.
But I mean, he did come in full time, right? Like, so.
Yes. Yeah.
We just didn't know that at the time. So.
We didn't know that at the time. So yeah, there's the idea that I like is what you set out, where it's just like you have these dudes who you are paying. The yen is down, work with what you have. Yeah. And like, that's not even saying that Zack Sabre Jr. is a fucking consolation prize, man. He's a dude he's given his prime to this company. Yeah. And they've rewarded him. They've given him tag team title runs. They've given him New Japan Cup twice.
They gave him his own belt for a year. Like
they created a belt and said, "Here, you establish this for a year." They gave him his own faction. They said he's the greatest tournament wrestler in New Japan history. Exactly. A fucking company that's had people like Hiroshi Tanahashi, AJ Styles, Okada, in these big tournaments. And they're talking about how, Zack Sabre Jr. is the one who succeeds best at tournaments.
You know what's great about that? Sorry to cut you off real quick, but it just spotted in my eyes about the Zack Sabre Jr. tournament thing. Historically in those tournaments, whenever you think about Zack, he would always be like, I don't even need to fucking win this. I'll just beat fucking Okada and then I'll fucking verse him for the championship next week. I don't need to go to Wrestle Kingdom. I don't give a fuck. He always had this like real laid back thing. Now is more of a babyface character with a tournament. What does a focus Zach look like? I'm going to win this tournament. I am going to win this tournament and then I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a completely different guy because he's always been a bit of a fucking, you know, a punk and a larrikin and like whatever, fucking cocky. Like what's it look like where he's like, I'm now going to win this and show everybody why I'm the best wrestler in the world and then I'm going to fucking take that title and then I'm going to run this company. Like that's a completely different guy that we have never seen before.
A Zack Sabre Jr. that wants to not just wants to establish himself as the ace, but can and will establish himself as the ace.
Wants to put the company on his back and like do that. And we've seen that shift in his character from like the moment he took on food, just like his young boy and stuff. Like you see him training him, you see him giving tips and caring about it and caring about his faction, and he brings in his friends and he's being more earnest and like all this like. It wasn't overnight. He wasn't easily like, yeah, fuck you, dickhead. And then immediately like a nice guy. We've just seen this slow turn of the needle as he just slowly gets, you know, cares more and more. And he like really, you know, wanted to beat Danielson in those moments in that match. Like he was like, I need to fucking win. Like you could tell like it meant everything. And so that focus from him is going to be really interesting in the next year. And it kind of mirrors, well, it doesn't mirror, but Sonata's change as well. When you talk about somebody who's like finding emotion and finding earnestness, we might end up with a couple of guys that really, really want to win chasing Naito, who's like, hey, everybody chill the fuck out. Like, you know, so
it puts a lot of focus on you know, because I mean I know you felt this. You said, oh, fucking Naito again.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but the landscape has changed so much now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we keep saying Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr., but yeah, we could have Yota Tsuji step up and face the guy who runs his own faction.
Yeah.
You know, we could have Shota Umino versus Naito and see if, you know, maybe shooters learn something since their last match. We've seen a new playing field for Naito right now, and I think that's pretty cool.
Sure, absolutely. But yeah, I think laying all that out, I think there's absolutely no reason why Zach couldn't be the new ace of the company. Like I think
Absolutely
there's
not.
every chance in the world, and if not the, definitely one of. I think we're going to see him in a much bigger spot, and if you had to put your stocks on anybody or bet on anybody this year to make a big splash, it would absolutely be Zach.
Absolutely it would. And like, here's the thing. Who else? Who else could it be?
Yeah. I mentioned
who else has given that time, that effort, that heart and soul and that years of his career to New Japan. And New Japan's been very good to him.
Yeah.
You know, they've made him feel like a big deal every single time. So, you know, who else on the roster could it be? I mean, you could pick someone and say, oh, it's this guy or oh, it's that guy. Who else on the roster should it be? Fucking nobody.
Yeah. I love it. Absolutely. Well, let's keep our promise. Let's keep the episode short. I think that's a really great note to end that on. Thank you for everybody for tuning in to the new ICHIBAN Sweetcast. At the moment, all social media remains at Okada Shorts because we've got to change it over as we do all our rebrand stuff.
It might have changed before this.
It
might have changed before this dropped.
It may have. It depends if you've done it or not, because I will be on a plane and I don't care to deal with it until I'm back.
I will change it before this. I don't know what I'll change it to, but I'll change it
exactly.
to
We've
this.
got art on the go. You guys already heard the new theme. That was on the fly. So, but we are kind of reworking that and things like that. So all new branding and stuff is going to come, but thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this brief little chat about the man. And yeah, rate and subscribe, listen or die, spirited fight, style it strong, sweet cast, ICHIBAN.
ICHIBAN.
Ring Post Radio is the only show hosted by Ryan Knightsey and Scotty Edwards that talks about the entire world of professional wrestling. With new episodes coming out every Sunday, there is absolutely no reason to not listen to real, honest wrestling opinions from two crazy maniacs. Have a hot boy summer and listen along to Ring Post Radio every Sunday on the Countout Network. This has been a Countout Podcast.